are you doing for Thanksgiving? What's your deal?
We're staying home. Just gonna do some stuff here. Definitely not gonna travel to any family or anything like that. Nobody's coming over here. Everybody's just gonna do their own thing. I think my husband's gonna go to his mom's. Shame on him. No, I'm playing. I'm kidding. I'm not shaming anybody. I know we all have like things we want to do. It's hard to stay away from family on the holidays. I know that the virus is spiking up and everything, so it's tricky. But it's just gonna be his mom and stepdad who are all well, in good health.
Well, you were practicing social distancing before it
Yeah,
was
since the
cool.
90s.
Yeah, right. So if anybody needs any help on social distancing, hit up Muse, Halo Girl. What is it? Halo Girl 22?
Yep.
Yeah, on Twitter. A man who does not like social distancing. He's a social butterfly, and I'm very thankful that he's on the show. Chris, the creature, Zissy. What if I said Horo, Chris? Don't be nodding your head like you knew it was going to be you. I could have said Dexter. I could have.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Yeah, but no, I thought you were going to say horror, and that's what I was agreeing with. But take the compliment. I am doing wonderful. Both kids are home for Thanksgiving, which is great, and we're having a grand old time. I went to Liberty University, picked up my daughter today, and just brought her home. And Matt flew in yesterday, so we are doing wonderful.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. And I'm glad that you're able to hang out with your kids, and um, one day they'll bring their spouses over, and then you'll get their kids, and then you'll have to be handing out money and all this great stuff.
And then I'll die.
Yeah, but as long as Dexter the intern doesn't show up at your house, Horror from Promote Horror, what's going on, my friend?
Oh man, I'm here, hanging out with my intern here who stays invisible on the camera, but that's okay. And we were talking, Lori mentioned the virus, and we were talking about the vaccine because there's been a lot of talk about that. And I realized that I was telling Dexter that my story that I wrote years ago, or that I still haven't finished, but I wrote, started with the zombie apocalypse starting because of a vaccine. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm definitely going to be concerned about taking this vaccine. So Dexter doesn't have to worry about it, but I'm concerned about the zombie apocalypse starting because of this vaccine.
Yeah, it's a little scary. I read something like it. You're gonna know you took the vaccine when you take it because you're not gonna feel good. Well, it's like when you watch these commercials for like heartburn, but then you get all these other side effects like will cause rashes. Your hair will fall out. Your eyes may fall out of your face, but you're gonna be okay with the heartburn. We'll see what happens with the vaccine. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into the show tonight. A really cool movie. I really enjoyed. This is a horror comedy called Beast Mode. It comes out, I believe, on the seventh, December 7th. Pretty much when you guys are listening to this podcast, it should be out about the same time. Definitely check this out. We will have a plethora of the cast on, which I will not ramble off all of them right away, but definitely stick around. It'll be really cool. We'll see how we manage with multiple, probably the most people we've had on the show at one time, and we'll see how many times Muse can make one of those guests cry. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to kick the show off with the fear, the beer of the week, and a horror movie flashback. So what I'm drinking tonight, it's funny, Chris, I'm not making fun of you. I am kind of making fun of you, but I thought about you when I got this beer because this says Golden Bulls, like Golden Girls, and it's got like bulls dressed up like the Golden Girls. And I thought of you because they're old like you.
I
And
got
this
30 more years to go before I become one of the peers.
this is Bolero Snort Brewery. I like this beer. Bolero Snort, yeah. Golden Stout brewed with honey, malt, and brown sugar with cocoa nibs and coffee. So, cheers to you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's see how this tastes. Ooh, that's good. That's a little heavy, but it's good. All right. It's a nice, like, winter beer. I like it. All right. So, for the horror movie flashback, I don't have an actual movie, but I do have a lot of birthdays to ramble off here. Boris Karloff was born on November 23rd in 1887. If you don't know who he is, shame, shame, shame on you and your mom. Jamie Lee Curtis, November 22nd, 1958. Also released this week, a couple good movies, I guess. The Addams Family, November 22nd, 1991. I love The Addams Family. I think it's I don't know. Is it horror? It's, I don't know, horror, light horror comedy ish. I don't know. The Mist, November 21st, 2007. That's the one with Thomas Jane. So that was a newer one, and we can't forget that. Ooh, yeah. And wow, Westworld, November 21st, 1973. And one more, November 21st, 1931, Frankenstein. So that was also with Karloff. Anyway, so that's my horror movie flashbacks and the Fear of the Beer of the Week, the Bolero Snort Brewery's Golden Bulls Golden Stout Ale. Muse, you're up with the Sinister Six. Oh, wait. Before you jump into it, and you can lead into this with me, Muse, I just want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. John, Y2 John, thank you so much for all that you do and supporting the show. Also, I just got to give a shout out to Isaac Thorne. Follow him at isaacthorne.com. He does the opening for the show on the podcast when you listen to the podcast. Anyway, shout out to those two individuals, and we'll get to some more later on. Take it away, Muse. Sinister Six.
All right, yeah, I echo that. Definitely a shout out to these two wonderful dudes. They do a lot to support the show. Awesome. I know I believe I didn't get to see it because I didn't get to really go on Twitter too much right before the show, but John had tweeted out like the link to the show like about 3 hours before. I was like, and I saw Ken go, "You're the man, John." And I'm like,
well, I think he's trying to take Dexter's. He's trying to take Dexter's spot, and Dexter's slacking, I think, a little bit. So.
Yeah, Dexter's is slipping there. All right. So speaking of Dexter, perfect segue. Last week, Dexter had given me a perfect idea for a Sinister Six, and it was some of our coolest, most memorable skeletons in horror movies. So this is going to be a fun segment. There are so many, so please forgive me if I forgot maybe some obvious ones. I was kind of scrambling today, and I should have already had this done. I usually have my list done like long before now. So just kind of forgive me if I forget some obvious ones. I'm going to swing around to the guys, so I'm sure they'll cover what I don't get. So just jumping right in at number one is classic Psycho from 1960. Spoiler alert. So if you have not saw Psycho, fast forward about a minute and a half or two because I don't want to ruin anything. But spoiler for the ending of Psycho if you have not seen it. We all know how it ends. Marion Crane's sister finds Norman's mother there in the fruit cellar, and she's a corpse by this point, a skeleton corpse, and it's just one of the really shocking scene there at the end, and she's all just kind of just sitting there in the chair, just chilling and stuff. And I remember seeing this for the first time, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I just loved it. It was a great scene and a great skeleton in a horror movie, so a great classic to start off with there. We all know the story of Psycho, so I'm not going to run that back down for you. If you don't, go back and see it. It's a classic. Number two, Army of Darkness. I mean, the skeleton army of darkness, right? Just so funny, so much fun. I remember the skeleton playing like the flute as they're into battle, and just they're talking all this trash, and when they're coming after Ash and everybody and the villagers. So just a really fun one there. We all know Army of Darkness, where Ash is transported back to medieval times, and it's just a really fun movie. Also, if you have not seen the alternate ending, Army of Darkness, I highly stress you should do that. It's a little bit different than the original theatrical version. So definitely the Skeleton Army and Army of Darkness. Number three is Donnie Darko. Now this is a little bit of a stretch, but I love this film. We know the story of Donnie Darko. It's just a really out there story. I don't want to ruin too much because there's a lot of things going on in this one. So if you've not seen this one and it slipped under your radar, I don't know why it would, but you have to run and see this one. This is an excellent one. But Donnie Darko is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's actually dressed up as kind of like a skeleton. I think it is for Halloween. We had just recently live tweeted this one probably about like less than a month ago. Just a great classic early 2000s film. You got to see this one. It's early Jake Gyllenhaal, but just, I mean, this movie is just out of its mind awesome. So just go back and watch that one. It's like I said, it's a skeleton. He's dressed up as a skeleton, you know. So I kind of stretch it. I like Jake Gyllenhaal and Donnie Darko. So I was just like, I'm throwing it in. I don't care. So I know some people might raise their eyebrows at that one, but I love that film. Number four, Poltergeist. Some real skeletons in this one. They actually used real skeletons, so they say. I believe that's actually a fact. And it's just some memorable scenes that you see these skeletons popping up out of the water as they're in the pool, as Carol Ann's mother Diane is in the pool looking, trying to escape, and the skeletons are coming out of everywhere near the end of the movie. I mean, they're like just launching out of the ground, out of the pool. They're like basically attacking at this point. So it's some really memorable, really cool practical effects skeletons in this one as well. Just a very memorable scene with a lot of really cool skeletons. Number 5 is Big Ben from House, 1985. This is Roger Cobb's old war buddy that he basically screwed over when he was over in Vietnam, and Big Ben is not happy. So he finds his way back to basically come after and take revenge on Roger. And it's just a very, very really memorable scene. Richard Mall plays Big Ben, and it's just one of my favorite skeletons of all time in a horror movie. And number 6, a classic 1959's House on Haunted Hill. We know the scene, the skeletons creeping up on the young beautiful damsel. It's just some really great scenes there in the classic House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price, with some skeletons. And again, I don't want to ruin too much. I know there's some that have not seen the super way back classics, but you have to see that one. That is like a must see for horror fans. Actually, all of these are, in my opinion. But House on Haunted Hill is really up there as a classic. So those are my top 6. I know I missed some obvious ones. I know that people are probably like, wait a minute, what about this one? So yeah, I know there's so many. So I'm going to swing around to Horo first and ask him, and Dexter for that matter, who their favorites, because they gave me the idea for this one. So I want to know what theirs are. I'm really curious.
Okay, well, since this is Dexter's category, I'll just give you his favorites. Obviously you stole a big one there in the poltergeist skeletons, because legend has it they were real. I mean, depending on who you believe, so you can't really beat real skeletons. Probably not the only time real skeletons might have been used in a horror movie, but Dexter happens to like Jack the Skeleton from A Nightmare on Christmas. I don't know what the story is there, but he's got some amusement with him. And I guess he recently got introduced to Skeletor on Twitter there. He's been putting out Skeletor things, and I don't know what that is, but he's fascinated by Skeletor having muscles. He doesn't quite understand this, and I've had to go over it a couple of times with him. But yeah, Skeletor is quite of interest to Dexter. And along with some of the skeletons in the background of Pirates of the Caribbean, he seems to have like that too. I guess he's kind of getting that Disney vibe. I'm a fan of Disney as well, so I guess he's getting attached to that. And there's a couple others, but I have a feeling Ken's going to say at least one, so I'll leave that one alone. And I think you already stole one of Chris's, so I guess
I have a feeling I may have.
Yeah.
One of the guys can go next, but Dexter is very pleased with the category and what you've mentioned.
Yes, I loved it. It was a great idea for a Sinister Six, and I'm always looking for ideas, so I'm always open to that. So I love that he came up with it's a really great idea for a Sinister Six. So I had to do it this week for Dexter. And so, speaking of stealing Chris's answers, let's hear what Chris has.
All right, since you stole my answers,
I'm sorry.
The Three Stooges episode when the two skeletons are playing checkers, classic. And wasn't there a movie, I think it's public domain on YouTube, Screaming Skull?
It sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, so let's go with that. And as soon as I hand it over to Ken, I think 15 more will come to mind. But boy, you got me in House on Haunted Hill, and you got me on Army of Darkness. I had those two on my list. I knew you would pick Army of Darkness, but I thought I might be fairly safe with the movie that was made before Talking Pictures, but that didn't turn out. So,
I'm sorry.
In the Frankenstein movie, isn't there a skeleton on the side when he's giving the lecture at the beginning?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So that works. That's a
right, so there.
Yeah, I had to get an old one in there. It's funny because I was going to say House on Haunted Hill and obviously Army of Darkness, one of my favorite, not just horror movies, but movies, period. So I'm going to even go, not necessarily a skeleton in a movie, but, Muse and I always talk about horror movie posters and VHS covers. Evil Dead 2
Yeah.
had the skeleton with the eyes, and I thought that one of the coolest VHS covers. I thought it was haunting. It was scary. The movie wasn't that scary, but you know, just a brilliant marketing idea there with that Evil Dead 2. And Jack Skellington, I mean, come on. Come on. Dexter, I thought you would have guessed Jack Skellington. He should
did,
be
he
like
did.
it. Did he say Jack? I
Yes.
thought he.
Nightmare
I thought.
Before Christmas.
Oh, did he? I thought he said
Yeah,
Pirates of the
that's
Caribbean.
that was one of them. But the first one he mentioned was Jack. Jack's
Oh,
his
I'm.
favorite skeleton for some odd reason. I don't know.
Well. There you go. And I think. Oh, I know. Then the other one I was going to say, which I wish they would have done it this way, because it could have been a really cool horror movie, is Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
If they would have went dark with that and did something like with the first Blade and Blade 2, Blade 3, that movie would have been rad.
That's
So
one I would actually like to see remade darker, you know.
yeah,
That would be
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. But then Nicolas Cage went all Nicolas Cage on it, and
Right. I love Nicolas
yeah,
Cage, so it's not a slight to him, but I would like to see a much darker, more gothic,
yeah.
you know.
Dexter, you need to get on that, man, and submit your film. You know,
He's going to be starring in some stuff in the future. We've discussed some future endeavors, so we'll see what he does.
he's gonna be like that show Bones about the doctor Bones, but it's gonna be like Dexter, his
Dexter's
bones.
bones.
Yeah.
Dexter's bones.
Dr. Dexter Boner. All right, Muse, before this gets off the rail.
All right, so that's it. Everybody had great answers. I loved all of them. So yeah, that wraps up for the Sinister Six.
Right on. Let's get into the horror news with PromoteHorror.com and Horror with Dexter the intern.
Yes, Dexter, the invisible intern here, but that's okay. We'll figure this out one of these days. I just like to throw in one last one that nobody mentioned, and that's the Crypt Keeper. I thought for sure someone was going to mention him, so I kind of let that pass, but I just can't let that slide. I'll take that one from me, and the rest of them from Dexter. But so remake talk. Not gonna get too much into the remake as I'm always spinning and twisting around my little category here. There's been some news of a couple of movies here, and thankfully most of these movies are sequels and not remakes. So I'm just going to mention them, and we can kind of combine it a little bit of the news segment here with this talk, and just be thankful that these are sequels and not remakes. And you'll know what I'm talking about when I mention the first one here is that Predator, I guess this is going to be part 5, has been announced. Apparently this was kind of been supposedly being worked on for several years now, or at least a long time. And I guess someone dropped the ball and let the cat out of the bag, or let the predator out of the bag, or out of the jungle, or whatever you want to call it. But again, I know there's a lot of complaints about Predator. It's been done. We've had a remake of that. Maybe not a direct, done in a different way, but in another jungle setting and so forth, Predator setting, and maybe one day we can dive into that more directly. But there's Predator, and we've seen Predator and Alien twice already, I believe. So here we go again with Predator. And I know some people out there might be over the Predator thing. I personally love Predator. I think he's a badass character. So whether it's a remake or a reboot or a sequel, this is one of the ones where I kind of set all that nonsense talk aside and say, if you can put a cool looking, don't mess up Predator, and just, kind of keep him as usual and put him on screen, and maybe not too much CGI, and just kind of make it as practical as you can, throw him on screen. I'm all down for that. I mean, I don't really care what you do. He is what he is. He is like the ultimate Predator, just blasting and killing everybody. I'm all for it. And I love, some people have complained about the damn Alien versus Predator movies, and they weren't the greatest. And no, they're not the greatest movies overall. But to watch those two creatures fight it out just in the moment, I love it. It's kind of like when you have Freddy versus Jason. You can complain all you want about the movie, but having Freddy and Jason in the same movie is just awesome. So just go with it. So I'm here to say, we're gonna have another Predator movie. Just whatever they do, just go with it. Don't worry. You just be thankful it's not a remake. Another movie. Jeffrey Reddick, who did Final Destination. He's responsible for that. We talked about his new movie, Don't Look Away. We did about a month ago. He was on Twitter, and I guess he confirmed that there, and something that I also brought up on the news before, there is going to be another Final Destination, but this one is going to actually supposedly be a reboot. Reboot or not, if you think about it, most of the movies in that whole series are reboots. It's just, the same thing, death coming to come back from whatever and get these people who have escaped death. Each movie is basically the same, just centered under a different circumstance. So, you can call it a reboot, but again, it's really just another sequel on top. I'm excited for that. Here's another one that I'm not going to complain about. Throw it in there. My only complaint is, they kind of wrapped it up, and they had that grand exit in part 5, and they kind of summed it up very nicely and so forth. So it is, in a way, a little disappointing that they're going to bring it back and kind of undo all that niceness they did at the end of part 5. But I'm a fan of Final Destination. It's basically, just like I just said, Predator's just there, have him kill a bunch of people or creatures, aliens, whatever the hell he's going to kill. And in this one, you just have people dying. And that's basically the center of this movie and what makes this movie work. You make a really cool entrance, beginning to go with the story, and then just very nicely kill off everybody that's involved. I even liked it in 3D. There's no mention whether this is going to be a 3D. I say, do it in 3D again. It's the one. I say it's one of the rare circumstances that I've actually enjoyed a 3D movie. Some of them have just been plain old awful. Most of them have been awful, but the last Final Destinations that they did in 3D, I thought they did a decent job, and that could be just a bonus, but it doesn't have to be. Another movie here. This one is rumored to be coming to Netflix, or because I guess there's a ongoing. There's going to be a production going to be shown on Netflix now with it. Is Killer Clowns, and there's been long rumored of them wanting to do a sequel. They wanted to do a sequel way back in the time, and I guess it's right now a thing that I guess I think it's MGM or one of those companies still owns the rights to, and so forth. That always gets very technical, but the creators of it have been dying to do a sequel, and this is, again, I'm glad, if there's going to be any talk about this, I'm glad that it's going to be a sequel. I don't really think there's a need for a reboot. I mean, I guess you could if you really wanted to, if you wanted to add your own clowns to it, but I think the ones that they have, at least the main 2 or 3, are pretty iconic in their own right. So I really, if you were going to do it over, you just have to bring them back anyway. So I'm again here doing it right. If they're going to do it, let's do a sequel. Bring them back, and let's keep it practical. Let's not mess this up and bring in a bunch of CGI crap. Let's keep it to what the original accomplished, and they accomplished a lot. Think of it back then. I think, what was that, late 70s, early 80s, if I'm not mistaken. They accomplished a lot with that movie. So again, another one I applaud. Let's do a sequel, not a remake. We're loving the news. We're rolling with this. And the last one I'm going to bring up here, and kind of like last week, I like some of these other movies I just mentioned, but last week I mentioned Short Circuit. The childhood one kind of gets closer to the heart, and this is Gremlins. And Gremlins, to me, again, it's another one that's close. I love Gremlins. Every Christmas, some people want to argue whether that's a Christmas horror or not. Whatever it is, to me, it is. You watch Gremlins during December. Long rumored that we're going to do a part 3. Apparently, they have a writer for part 3. Again, it's another rights thing. Who has the rights? What are we doing with the rights? Blah blah blah. But I guess there was mention. I guess they talked to him, and they said if they do a part 3. They will do puppets and not CGI. So again, we're I come on here and talk about some remakes and complain about them and go down the wrong path with that. But here are 4 movies that it looks like they're going to do the right thing here and do sequels with, or at least do these movies and hopefully, I mean, still early with a lot of these things, but hopefully in the right direction here. So yeah, if they do another Gremlins, it has to be puppets. If you do a CGI Massacre, we're going to have to talk to somebody up top, because we're going to have big problems here. So those are four movies I kind of mentioned, and I'm gonna throw it to you guys now if you want to make any comments about these being sequels, not remakes, and comments on being excited for any of these movies, or what you think about this kind of news.
I'm gonna jump in real quick on a couple of them. Predator. I hear you, dog. I think Predator, the first one, is one of my favorite movies. Like I think it is probably the best action movie ever made, and we can have a discussion about that one day. But and then the second one, I liked it.
I liked it.
The second one I liked, and then after that it got kind of screwy. You know, you got Alien versus Predator, and that was kind of cool, I guess. But I think that they should take a little break for a little bit, you know, and then come back to it. I don't know, give it a few years, kind of like what they did with like Star Wars. You know, give it some time, let it breathe, and then come back. Now, Gremlins, I totally agree. It has to be puppets, and I would love to see them give this to Jon Favreau. Now, hear me out. Jon Favreau is doing a brilliant job with The Mandalorian because he's doing a lot of puppets and practical effects and makeup and stuff with a lot of the aliens and creatures and stuff. And it's a good storyline because Gremlins is a little bit more lighthearted. Chris and I were talking about Phoebe Cates the other day, and it would be really cool to see her just like make a role in there. Then what's the guy's name there? I forgot. Help me out, Muse.
Zach Galligan.
Yeah, Galligan. Zach Galligan. So yeah, I would be really cool to see. But yeah, I'm gonna pass it on over to Chris.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on this. The Predator thing. I don't know if you guys saw the review I posted today. It was sort of a Predator ripoff. I didn't know, Haro, you would bring it up. It's a Fred Olen Ray movie, and if you know Fred Olen Ray, you're just a better person because of it, because he's never made a bad movie. And this is basically a Predator movie, except you got Roddy McDowall as his controller. Now, if that's not classic written all over it, I don't know what it is. But even better, Predator gets, or this thing that looks like Predator, it's like the most dangerous game. He comes here to hunt, and he's got to hunt these jock football players and their cheerleaders. It is just a wonderful plot. Now, I would like to see that on the big budget. I want like $300 million budget on Predator going after jocks and cheerleaders, and have some sort of Buffy type character who ends up being the hero of the world. You know something? Let the Sci-Fi Channel make it. I would love it. I'd be all over it. But seriously though, I agree with you, Ken. Predator is probably, I don't know, top 5 action movies ever, and it's one of those movies you can see every week and not get sick of it. So
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
But you know, put them on a neat little on a cruise ship. Put them in wherever, and it's always commandos. And commandos are boring. You can practically smell them through the screen, and they grunt a lot. You know. Put some cheerleaders in there. Put a dance team. Put people who.
Chris wants chicks.
Yeah,
give him some chicks.
Predator. That's one of the downfalls.
He keeps getting his ass kicked by brutes. Why? Okay, we're gonna change up our game plan. We're gonna go after the hot chicks now.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, and different strategies to kill this alien thing. So those are just a few random thoughts, nothing specific, but I think you know where I'm coming from.
All right, I think it's my turn to chime in. So, Predator, yeah. I mean, I don't see how you could really, I mean, I guess you could go wrong making a Predator sequel, but it's such a popular franchise. I think people would go see it. I really do. I think they would rent it on demand, all that, just out of curiosity. So I definitely think people are going to see it if it's made. I agree with Chris. Let's throw some women into the mix, but I want the women kicking the Predator's ass. I want some Buffy the Vampire Slayer type action happening. I don't care if it's cheerleaders, flight attendants.
Ripley versus Predator. There it is.
Something. Yeah. Let's get some women in there, and I'm not against the commandos, because muscles are great. I'm okay with that. But I mean, yeah, let's change it up a little bit and have some ass kicking women in there and changing the vibe up a little bit. So I like that idea. I love the idea of a Gremlins sequel as well. I definitely think we need another Gremlins movie. It's time. There's so many fans of that film, and I definitely think it would be a lot of fun to see what's been going on in this whole storyline, and where they could go with this. And I definitely think you got to bring Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan back, or I don't want anything to do with it. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. If they're not involved, I'm out. And I mean, I know that's a little harsh, but and I agree, it's got to be puppets. If you CGI this, it's gonna fail. I just really feel like it's gonna crash. So, and I think did you say Final Destination as well? Yeah. So I'm all for Final Destination sequels because I love seeing what new deaths they come up with. It's always fun to watch people get killed in a myriad of ways. So I am so down for that. Whenever they want to make another one, take my money. I don't care. I just want to watch people just die in creative ways. I still feel like I think she was a gymnast, that death right there. I think that was in one of the last Final Destination movies, if not the most current one or the one before it. It was either in 4 or 5. I think there's 5. And so, yeah, I'm down with all of that. I'm a sequel person. So I'm like, make the sequels. Let's stop with the remakes. Let's make some sequels. Let's continue some stories. Let's start some new ones, but don't just reboot it. It's just, there's so much a story to be told with a lot of these franchises that we're talking about here. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways we could go with it instead of remaking and starting over and hitting the reset button. So that's my 2 cents.
When I put those together, that you'd have some interest in that since you love sequels.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely very easily done with these 4 movies to just kind of do a sequel. I mean, I know Final Destination is supposed to be a reboot, but I mean, seriously, it's just a sequel because it's just the same thing every time with minor tweaking there. So that's all good stuff, and I'm really fascinated by Ripley versus Predator. I mean, that I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. Too bad we can't get her Sigourney to kind of like put the Fountain of Youth and kind of maybe back when she was maybe against Predator.
That would be rad.
Throw in a surprise, alien like somewhere in the middle there, and see who she gets to team up with there. Maybe she'll choose a side. But yeah, that's some cool stuff. But yeah, that's the first time I heard of that. That's I'm interested. I'm down with that. All right, so that's some of the news. But let's jump into some other news really quickly. For those who are waiting for the Dexter series to come next summer, just to let you know, Netflix is going to be ending Dexter on December 30th. So if you need to binge, like I was hoping to binge all the seasons to kind of do a rewind here. It will be ending. They will be removing it. So if you're going to binge Dexter, do it and do it now. Full Moon is going to give another puppet. They gave Blade his own movie. They're going to give Dr. Death his own puppet movie. So that'll be interesting. I still haven't yet to see the Blade movie. I wanted to for a while now, but haven't caught it. So hopefully I get to do that. Last week I mentioned Freaky would be on demand soon, and I guess it's official now. It's on December 4th. So for those who didn't want to go to the theaters, don't blame you. It'll be on demand December 4th for you to catch. I still need to see that as well. Speaking of sequels, here's another one I didn't mention is The Reef. The Reef is getting a sequel. We love our sharks. We got to stay up with our shark news here. It's going to be called The Shark Stalked. So I guess that's in pre-production now. Here's some news, and I don't think I'm too excited about. Maybe Ken's excited about this. I don't know, but there's an untitled monster movie for Universal that was announced, and Channing Tatum is supposed to be in this. I kind of put Channing Tatum in the same boat as Robert Pattinson. So I'm definitely not excited to hear that news. Maybe, I can't say he sparkles, but I don't know. There's something about him that I'm not excited about. So I don't know what they have planned. Maybe it'll work for him, but that's not exciting for me. Something we can all get excited for is Robert Englund in Stranger Things season 4. Yes, you heard it. I definitely have to make sure that I catch up with that. Um, Something for Chris. We're not going to leave Chris out here. Monster Hunter, starring his girl Mila. They've moved the date of the release to December 25th. So, I think that's a week back or forward. I forgot if it's backward or forward. But she's going to be in competition with Wonder Woman. So look out. We can put those two together and see what happens. News for me, The Walking Dead, the extended season of season 10, because it never ends, will come out February 28th. I'm sure I'm the only one excited about that. And Skyline, which is this is going to be actually the third movie in the series, that is going to be out in theaters, drive-in, on-demand, and digital, December 18th. So I know I didn't like the first one. The second one, I don't believe I saw. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with part 3. I'm sure Chris has seen them all and is all up to date on that. Maybe he can comment on that at some time. And then as far as wrapping it up with recommendations, the last couple of weeks I haven't had any. If you're an Exorcist fan, you have to see Leap of Faith, which is on Shudder now. Great documentary from the man himself who did it. Telling them all kinds of great information. So if you're a fan of The Exorcist, which most of us are, you definitely have to see that. A movie I caught today, Come Play. Very good, creepy story there. They did some things good in the movie. Not perfect, but good. And I also caught Run, which is on Hulu, starring Sarah Paulson. It's getting a lot of great reviews. I believe Stephen King made a comment on it. Terrific movie. More, not total horror movie, maybe more of a thriller that has some horror elements in there, but very excellent movie. So those are for some recommendations that I finally seen some better stuff this week.
Good stuff, man. Take a breath, man. Good stuff. I was hoping you would mention Robert Englund. I know that's your boy. But yeah, catch up with Stranger Things. I was all about it. And Chris is showing us his Underworld, not his underwear, Underworld DVD right now. Speaking of Chris, let's get into the creature feature of the week. The movie we'll be talking about tonight. Go for it, Chris.
First, Skyline. I agree with you, Haro. Saw the first one, didn't like it. Didn't see the second one. However, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken, the star of Underworld Rise of the Lycans, Rona Mitra, I believe is in the third one. I could be mistaken about that. So don't go anywhere, guys, because I have some hard-hitting questions for you. Which one of you is the wife-swapping atheist?
That's going to be Dexter.
Okay. Which one of you burns rabbits?
Definitely a Florida thing. That's got to be Omar.
See, who in the right mind would admit who they actually are? I mean, when people come up to you, Ken or Omar or Lori, and they say, I am just so fortunate I met you. Are the best. You are what I needed. You are the best. Is there something in your mind saying, you have no idea who I am? But you don't say that. You just let them go on and let them think how great you are. But deep inside, there's no way. They're mistaking you for somebody, or they misinterpreted something that you said to be brilliant. It isn't brilliant. They just misinterpreted it. But you'll take the fame and glory. We're all married. Have you all told your spouse absolutely everything that's on your mind when it was on your mind?
It's a trap. It's a trap. Don't do it.
Right. The secret, and I think I saw Laurence Olivier say this in one of his movies of A Great Marriage, is that your spouse never really knows exactly who you are. Because if they did, hence our movie today, Beast Mode. Interesting movie. And it's actually kind of a nice theme. And we're going to look at a movie that is eventually, after the first 50 or 10 minutes set in Hollywood, But if you think about it, it could be set in your home, could be set in your hometown, could be set in the college you went to, could be not on this show because we speak the truth here. But it's kind of a neat show, movie. And it's a cast of thousands, and you'll see these people. You say, I know who that is, and then you find out, whoa, that's C. Thomas Howell. I never would have got that because he's really the star of this in a movie with about 25 stars. And I don't know if you guys remember the 70s when they had Irwin Allen movies, The Towering Inferno, Earthquake. But at the bottom, they'd have pictures of 20 stars. And they were all in the movie, some of them only for about 10 seconds. But, George Kennedy, Ava Gardner, they were all in it, even if it was just for a few seconds. Marjoe Gortner, remember Marjoe Gortner? He's sort of like Anthony Zerbe without the glitter. But this movie has a cast of thousands in it. And they all do a really, really good job. And if we can get to the plot, and I'm not going to spoil anything, there's a backstory that begins the movie. It's the jungles of South America, Uruguay, I believe. And there's this herb and a flower that when mixed, it has great healing powers. Facial deformities, scars, plague, blisters. It wipes it away right away. There's a side effect, as everything has, including the vaccine. And you're absolutely right, Omar. You guys take it first, and I'll see how it goes with you guys, and then I might think about it. But this side effect is whoever you are inside, it comes out. Not only in your behavior, but if you're a monster inside, you become a monster, not just in behavior, but, you'll grow horns, your face will go, fangs and everything and claws. And it isn't just like you start swearing. No, you just rip people apart. You pull out their spines, you pull out their intestines, and there's some kills in this movie that we're going to see. And you keep in mind, this is a comedy. Remember Kimchi and Carla? You do. The makeup people. When one gets her intestines ripped out and the other one gets strangled by those intestines, it was just a beautiful kill. And we laugh through it because it's a funny movie. Well, the problem here is James. Is it James Duval? I might have my names mixed up. He's the guy that we might have first seen in the Die Hard movie with James Duval. He plays a action hero. Huckle Saxton. And Huckle Saxton is problematic. He's the type of guy's on drugs. Everyone hates him. He abuses everybody, but he's a great action hero. And to get him in your movie you got a lot of work because you got to keep him clean. You got to keep him on time. Well, Breen Nash, C. Thomas Howell, needs to make a good movie because Gods of Pluto failed. And it's funny because you see Gods of Pluto and you automatically put a movie. I put Jupiter Ascending there. And in fact, the poster actually looks like Jupiter Ascending. The billion-dollar movie that nobody goes to see except for one guy who's kind of weird.
Channing Tatum fans like horror.
Right. And who was the actor? Was it Olivia Wilde or I don't know? Maybe.
Oh, it was Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a mistake. What was she thinking? And no, she did not save the movie. Well, he needs Huckle Sexton to be in the movie because he's the box office draw. It doesn't have to be a good movie, although, he's been in a few things. People love him. Well, in a weird scene, C. Thomas Howell, Breen Nash, backs over him and kills him. The problem is we go Weekend at Bernie's now, if you remember that movie. Nobody can know he's dead because the studio's going to bankroll it. The studios they hesitated, but hey, if you can control Huckle Saxton, okay. And so they get a bankroll. So they find a double who's close to a double. This schmuck janitor somewhere with scars on his face. Leslie Easterbrook is in this movie, and she's able to recommend some cream that they can put on the face to get rid of the scars. Well, the cream is the stuff from the jungle that brings your insides, whoever you really are, out. Well, the cream ends up making the rounds, and the people taking it turn into monsters. Now, they're already monsters figuratively. The Hollywood, materialistic, unsincere, they won't tell you your coat's on fire culture. Well, just imagine how they really are. And it's like 50 billion times worse. So now you have monsters running around, ripping people apart. And Brie Nash has got this guy who's actually a sweet guy. He's probably the only pure person in the movie. And now they've got to coach him because they say, hey, nobody's going to believe you're Huckle Saxton because you're just too good. You got to start being mean to people and stuff. And so James Duval goes home to Huckle Saxton goes home to see his wife, and his wife completely materialistic. And this guy's just being who he is. Hey, I love you. I realize I haven't been around. I want to make you the best wife in the world. I want to cater to all your needs. And she doesn't want any part of it. She's into the blow culture. And it's kind of funny because it's not in him to mistreat this woman. Although this woman, you get the feeling, wants to be mistreated. Well, they go forth and make this movie, and Brie Nash and Huckle Saxton, because of the industry they're in, have people after them anyway. And this cream is making its way around, and it's gonna eventually flower, if I can use that word, because that's where the thing comes from, into almost an epidemic on the movie set. And there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. There's going to be a lot of people getting ripped apart. And there's going to be a very ironic, explosive ending. And I don't want to say too much about the ending, but one of the things about this movie, you got to like the theme in that what's inside is really what's important. What's inside is going to come out eventually. And so who you are inside, you can fake people all day long with a beautiful face and a smile, but if they know you long enough, they're gonna know. And so it's sort of a nice theme. And this theme is cast on the Hollywood culture, which you can imagine where that's going to go. But like I said, when I opened up the review, apply it to your own household, apply it to who you are, apply it to your own community. Are you really what people are seeing? Do you want to be? Now, you're not ripping people apart, so maybe it's sort of a charge that if there's something inside you, how you think, how you feel about people, it's not that healthy, you can tinker with it still before it explodes out. So look at it as a warning and maybe as a guide, but the cast is amazing. The gore is piled on high. And even with the gore and the monsters, this is going to be a comedy which you're going to laugh at. And I wouldn't say horror comedy, but maybe comedy horror, which is unusual because the horror is pretty intense and gory. But the overarching theme is just something we look at. And the only thing I'm going to say is we're going to talk to these guys in just a minute or two, and I got a couple of questions I want to ask them regarding that. So stay tuned. In about a minute, you'll see them.
Yeah, well, let's jump right into our interview. Great review. Definitely a movie that you guys will love the interview. Check it out. We'll be right back, everybody, with a lot of the cast members.